Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Williams. This is the progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. Remember, you can also send me a tweet to EGBERTOWILLIES. That is, at Egberto Williams. Let us engage. It is politics done right.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Williams, your host. Thank you so kindly for being a part of the show. Anyhow, folks, listen, the stock market is cratering once again. Once again, the stock market is cratering. Now, the question is, why? ¿Por qué? Everybody's talking about the trade wars. That's one of it. But it's much deeper than this trade war. And we're going to get into, maybe we'll get into a little bit about that after we talk about the destruction that Trump is effecting on this country. And something great that Madeleine Albright had to say today, the ex-Clinton Secretary of State, that I think is of quite a lot of interest to all of you. So anyhow, welcome aboard. You know what I'm going to say first. The first thing I'd like you guys to do, first of all, is to go ahead and share. So if you just got onto Facebook, please go ahead and share before you start anything. I don't care if you're going to be here for 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, or the entire hour. Please go ahead and share the show. That is the way we tell Facebook. Your algorithm will not stop the progressive message from getting out. You are in command. You are the one that's going to make sure your neighbors, your friends, your everybody gets the truth and not have to tolerate what they're currently listening to on mainstream media. It is essential that you do that. So, folks, if you're listening to me right now, the first thing I'm asking you to do is share. You're just getting onto the show, share it on Facebook. And don't forget as well, this is a progressive show, a call-in show. Please be so kind to subscribe to it. As you know, Google, Facebook, and all these other entities, as they require growth for their shareholders, it means that they're taking away the advertising spots from small publishers like activists, bloggers, etc., who are now suffering the pains. While I absolutely do not condone what happened at YouTube, it was instrumental in what that woman did at YouTube when she went out there and created havoc, because YouTube decided that they were going to throttle her videos, etc. down. So, all these things are intertwined. We don't condone any of this, but whenever you start to mess with people's personal economies, you create issues. So, folks, what we ask you to do to make sure that we can keep our performance up to our audience is to, first of all, share the show. And if you have the wherewithal, give Politics Done Right a cup of coffee. Patreon.com/Politics Done Right. Patreon.com/Politics Done Right. I guarantee you we are out there in the fields from D.C. right back to Portland, right back to wherever things are happening. We're there for you. And also, I want to remind you guys, this is a call-in show, and that's the number right there, 646-716-5812. Again, we want you to call in and say your piece. Remember, most and foremost, this is your show. We ask you to subscribe to the show. We ask you to be a part of the show. We ask you to give input into the show. And you know what? Later on, I'm going to have a little surprise. I'm going to tell folks, if you're in town or if you live in town, some of the times, come out here and do the show, whether it's going to be here in Kingwood or out there in Montrose at the KPFT studios. One or the other, we're going to start really showing you guys that this show is yours by giving you opportunities to either come here and do the show or go to KPFT 90.1 FM Houston and do the show together, and you get a chance to be out there and saying, this is what's going to happen. Folks, again, that number is going to be 646-716-5812. And again, if you want to support the show, go to patreon.com, patreon.com/Politics Done Right. So what is the show going to be about today? We're going to have a good show for you folks. We're going to have a good show. Title of the show is It is the Time That We Stop Trump Now. Albright is right. And who is Albright? Secretary of State Albright was President Clinton's Secretary of State. Very good Secretary of State, a woman that really knew what was going on. And she had an essay that she wrote in the New York Times today that, it's funny. It's the first darn article I read this morning, and it was like, oh my God, that's my show today. We're going to discuss that. And you know what? You guys, I hope, want to discuss that and be an input to it because it also goes into voting, etc. So here it goes. And here we go. We can get, and before, let me welcome folks here. First of all, welcome aboard Tom, Carolyn, the cook. Welcome aboard. I don't think I've seen you here before. Nisha Randall, my indivisible partner. What do? We are going to do something, Nisha. And you know what? Nisha, I don't know why you are asking what are we going to do. Because you are already doing, Nisha is one of the most powerful organizers here in Houston who was instrumental in getting the Women's March in D.C. going, the Women's March, some of the Women's March here in Houston and elsewhere. So, Nisha, you know what has to be done. Folks, if you're just joining us, please, the first thing I need to ask you to do is to go ahead and share. Welcome aboard Michael Rudden as well. And we'll get to the others as soon as I can get to the others. The scrolling doesn't work as good as it should. Title of the show today. Is it time that we stop Trump now? Albright is right. We can get subtitle, we can get the job done to neutralize the overall Trump disaster and destruction. Look, the stock market is cratering. It's down 500. It was down 700 something points before. It's been going down all the while. This is caused by instability. The instability is not only the instability caused by, it's not only the instability caused by what just happened with the trade deal. We had some 700 points drops before that was occurring, which tells you, hi, Matthew T-Man, which tells you it is something systemic. And the systemic part of it is Donald Trump being who he is. That is the systemic issue. Hi, Mr. Fred Infortunio and Roshanda Caldwell. Welcome aboard as well. Okay, the stock market is cratering. Despots are feeling as if they can get away with harming their own people. This is the new world of Trump. He is killing us with 1,000 tweets. He is destroying this country from within and from without. How do we solve the problem in the short term? Let us discuss this in detail. So what I'd like to do is go over Madeleine Albright's essay as well, it's going to be the blog of the week. But more importantly, folks, I would love to hear from you guys calling in, because what I want to do, if at all possible, and even leaving messages here on the Facebook page where we're having the show as well. We need to have that bi-directional, tri-directional, multi-directional dialogue so that you can understand what really we can do. You know, a lot of people feel despair right now. I'm watching CNN right now on the big screen here. And the people are acting like it's the end of the world. There are all these bad things are happening. What are we going to do? How are we going to solve it? Folks, you have more power than you believe. And your power comes in two different dimensions. One is the vote, but the vote only occurs every so often, every 2 years, and then in some odd years for certain states. That's one. But what is inferred by the potential vote is also deterministic of what's going to happen going forward. What do I mean by that? What I mean by that is the fear of the politician of what you will do also has an effect. The reason why Trump has been given a long leash right now is because those people who are within his district still seems to have the belief that, or rather, the politicians who run the districts where Trump won, the belief is that they still have the possibility of winning in those districts and they don't want to rock the vote. But you as the individual, you have the ability to change that. I don't care what district you live in. You live in a red district, you can change that. You can actually let them know. I don't care. Look, politics done right is not trying to make people into all progressives. We are decidedly left-wing progressives at politics done right. I won't argue that point. I won't discuss that point. That is who we are. But we also love every single American. We also want what's best for every single American, whether you are an anarchist, a conservative, a right-winger, a Tea Party, you are the friend of politics done right. So what we are saying is what is wrong with what's occurring wrongly in this country affects not just the progressive, the liberals, Look at what Trump has just done in the tariffs that he's passed. It is going to affect the Midwest. Why? Because China, as Kramer said, and I wrote the blog about it yesterday, as Kramer said on CNBC yesterday, Trump does not understand who he is messing with. He's thinking that China is a third world country, and he forgets that China is a first world country. And not only is China a first world country, but China understands American politics. Just like Russia understands American politics, all these major countries, little country like Panama understands American politics. And what was the first thing that China did when when Trump hit them with tariffs? They went at his base. They knew who his base was, and they knew exactly what products they were going to hit immediately after Trump hit them. That is called that is called perfection in policy. They have policy wonks. Trump has a whole lot of TV personalities. Remember that. And so all you folks in red states and red districts won by Trump or run by Trump-loving politicians, it is you China is hitting, which means directly your president, the president you voted for, decided in the processes of what he did to hurt you under the pretext that China is doing all these bad things. Now, I'm an American, and I'm going to tell you, China dumps a whole lot here. But guess what America does as well? We do the same thing in different areas of the world. So this is not pure. We don't want a purity test or a stupidity test that's going to hurt our American folk right now. Yes, you want to change policies, you negotiate policies, and that's what we need to do, folks. That's what we need to do. But folks, ¿sabe qué hora es? ¿Sabe qué tiempo es? Do you know what time it is?
It's time for the weekly blog post.
And this time we have the blog post ready. Title of the blog post: Trump must be stopped. Trump must be stopped before it is too late, and here is how. And here's the blog of the week again. The rationality of Donald Trump, along with the disregard he has for humanity and reality, is on full display. From a fall immigration crisis to the mishandling of trade to the encouragement of despots, he is a clear and present danger not only to the United States but the world. Former President Bill Clinton's Secretary of State Madeleine Albright, New York Times op-ed poses an essential question to Americans about Trump. Will we stop Trump before it's too late? It's a valid question. So far Republicans continue to watch him decimate the tenets of their party with not a peep from those who are in control of party. The problem is, as Trump is given a long leash, he is given virtual freedom to do as he pleases, to become a dictator, the instantiation of a fascist. Albright writes her column as follows: Today, we are in a new era, testing whether the Democratic banner can remain aloft amid terrorism, sectarian conflicts, vulnerable borders, rogue social media, and the cynical schemes of ambitious men. The answer is not self-evident. We may be encouraged that most people in most countries still want to live freely and in peace, but there is no ignoring the storm clouds that have gathered. In fact, fascism and the tendencies that lead toward fascism pose a more serious threat now than at any time since the end of World War II. Warning signs include the relentless grab for more authority by governing parties in Hungary, the Philippines, Poland, and Turkey, all United States allies. The raw anger that feeds fascism is evident across the Atlantic in the growth of nativist movements opposed to the idea of a united Europe, including in Germany, where the right-wing alternative Für Deutschland has emerged as the principal opposition party. The danger of despotism is on display in Russia of Vladimir Putin, invader of Ukraine, meddler in foreign democracies, accused political assassin, brazen liar, and proud son of the KGB. Putin has just been re-elected to a new 6-year term, while in Venezuela, Nicolas Maduro, a ruthless ideologue, is poised to triumph in sham balloting next month. In China, Xi Jinping has persuaded a docile National People's Congress to lift the constitutional limit on his power. Around the Mediterranean, the once bright promise of the Arab Spring has been betrayed by the autocratic leaders such as Abdel Fattah el-Sisi of Egypt, also just re-elected, who uses security to justify the jailing of reporters and political opponents. Thanks to allies in Moscow and Tehran, the tyrant Bashar al-Assad retains his stronghold over much of Syria. In Africa, the presidents who serve longest are often the most corrupt, multiplying the harm they inflict with each passing year. Meanwhile, the possibility that fascism will be accorded a fresh chance to strut around the world stage is enhanced by the volatile presidency of Donald Trump. Albright goes on to point out that Trump's attempt to marginalize every American democratic institution, from the judiciary to the media and federal law enforcement agencies. He vilifies the other, whether based on religion, race, or culture. Trump undermines the democratic electoral process with his verifiable lies of an election he did not outright win. The former Secretary of State points out an important point that is true of all fascists, and she says, his words are so often at odds with the truth that they can appear ignorant, yet are in fact calculated to exacerbate religious, social, and racial divisions. As bad, Trump condones torture and praises despots. His behavior gives carte blanche to the anti-democratic elements throughout the world. Trump's irrational behavior with China, read trade war. His contempt for international design treaties, read the Iran nuclear agreement, and his undecipherable stance on North Korea makes the world an unstable, volatile place. The fear is that in Trump's complete ignorance and lack of intellect, he could unleash events he has no control over. There is not much time to arrest his ineptitude. Albright closes on what we must consider a hopeful note. After all, we are still a democracy. What is to be done, she asks. First, defend the truth. A free press, for example, is not the enemy of the American people. It is a protector of the American people. Second, we must reinforce the principle that no one, not even the president, is above the law. Third, we should each do our part to energize the democratic process by registering new voters, listening respectfully to those with whom we disagree, knocking doors or favored candidates, and ignoring the cynical counsel. There's nothing to be done. Greatness may be abstract, but we know it when we see it. Trump is not making America great again. He is distracting and destroying the country as he uses his office to pilfer us all. But November can be time of change, the time of change. It is in our hands, people. It is in our hands. And that was the reread of the blog of the week. And I hope that you take it in the context that it was written. What Madeleine Albright had to say is very important. And additional to very being important, it is something that we have to be cognizant of. Nisha made an important statement earlier. She said she felt we're likely going to win in November, but is it going to be enough? And my answer is yes, it's going to be enough, because we don't start in November. We start now. We start reaching people now. We do not wait. We do not wait. Now, the telephone number, folks, I'd like you to give me a call to comment on some of this, to give us some additional ideas. I have quite a few to give you as well. 646-716-5812. Again, that number is 646-716-5812. I am sorry for that mishap. That was, again, like I said a couple of days ago, when you are the producer, the writer, and you have to run the boards at the same time you have to run the phones, every so often you don't hit a particular button to stop the reel. But having the great folks that I have here who told me, Egberto, well, I think you have the blog of the week on a loop. Thank you so kindly for letting me know that. And now it's no longer in a loop. Folks, telephone number 646-716-5812. Please give us a call. And beforehand, please do remember to go ahead and share these programs. We need you to share it to ensure that Facebook will promote and put these into people's feeds like yesterday, or really like now. So again, please go ahead and place us in your feeds. What do you think about it? Let me go to the boards and see if I have any information here other than the mess up that we had earlier. Bear with me 1 second. Let's see. Fixed. Yes, we got that. We got that mess up fixed. Let's see. Oh, good. I got a notification. I'm glad you got a notification for the show. Mr. Rudin, Nisha Handel, what do we do? I'm afraid winning in November won't be enough to bridge the divide. Bridging the divide does not happen overnight, Nisha, but bridging the divide will occur. What has, I mean, I was in Starbucks talking to a professor a few days ago, and his belief was, well, what's going to have to happen is we're going to have to crater as a country. The country is just going to have to decimate itself and get to such a point that everybody is just throwing their hands up in the air, and then we're going to come together. And when we come together, then we would have seen that all these bad things have occurred, and then things would change. My contention is we don't need to wait for that to happen. We can be proactive, and that is my level of activism. That is the kind of activism that I do. That's why I had somebody like Devlin Molyneux on a couple of days ago, where she was discussing having a week of conversations that she put, the National Week of Conversations, because these things actually work. I participated in quite a few of these things where you get people that have completely different viewpoints, and what you ask them is you say, look, let's make a deal just for today, just for our people. Let's try this. Let's just today hold back and let's sit down and first everybody air out their grievances and everybody else shut up. Air out your tell me what's really bothering you. And even if the other person thinks what the other person is saying is bunk, let them have their say and let them see you listen. And not just let them see you listen, but hear what they're saying and understand what their fears are. Let everybody talk because they fear you. I mean, it is funny because a lot of people, when we sit down and talk in Starbucks, or when we do it under the auspices of Coffee Party USA or wherever, and you start to sit down and talk, the first thing it's interesting because the ones that are most fearful are conservatives, right? Conservatives, when they meet liberals, they've been taught that we have fangs, that we are coming to get them, that we hate them, that we want to strangle them, that we just think they're stupid. That is what they've been taught to think about liberals. And since we all, or many folks, are still living in silos, they're trained to believe that, and that is what makes the conversation difficult. So I have certain approaches that I use when I start the conversation, right? And it's interesting because ultimately what always happens is they would try to equate me with not being the liberals like the others. And what's ironic about that is I am more liberal than most liberals. I am more left-wing than most liberals. But it's all in the trust you develop with people first, the ability that you develop to start saying, I can listen to you, but I can also disagree with you. And in that disagreement, you're not my enemy, and I do not want to kill you because you disagree with me. And it's when you can hold those kinds of conversations where we can learn to do that, that again, you don't have to agree with folks. But once you see that there are some basic truities that affect everybody, then you can come on common ground. And so Nisha, when you say that, you think winning in November is not going to be good enough. Winning in November is not good enough because it doesn't start in November. It starts yesterday. It starts now. This is when we have to start doing the things that we need to get done. Okay, let's see. Michael with Nisha, don't forget the vote in the primaries. Yeah, we're primaries, by the way, in Texas, is they're over, but we have the runoff still. Oh, wow. Hey, Nisha, friend request sent. Didn't recognize who you were. Oh, cute. All right. Look, you see, we're making friends here. Fred Infortunio. Hi, Egberto. Dr. Infortunio here, just passing by. Thanks for stopping by. Hello, all. Would like to network new to Houston. Glad to hear. Rashonda Caldwell, again, you can always stop in to, if you want to do some volunteering work, check out Indivisible Houston and go to indivisiblehouston.org. We're a very friendly bunch, and we're always looking for volunteers. We're also going to be looking for folks in District 2 or District 15 or the others to become representative for their district for Coffee Party USA. There's a whole lot that's going to be out for you to do. And, of course, you can always join one of the parties and just be active. Go ahead there and work with people, because that is what we need. Let's say instability caused by the trade war with China. I'd imagine. yeah, the trade war with China will cause instability, but I don't think the instability from the trade war with China is going to have much to do with any kind of military issues. I think it's going to have a completely economic component, and it's a component that the United States cannot win. We have to remember there are some other intrinsics here, right? Or internals here that nobody's talking about. Everybody's talking about trade war, trade war, trade war. If China really wanted to effect some damage, you have to remember, we are a democracy to some extent still. China is not. So China can put some hurting and some pain on its people without having the repercussion of the people revolting. Donald Trump doesn't have that luxury. Donald Trump is doing a whole lot of crazy things he's doing because he thinks some of his people expect him to do that, and absent doing that, he believes he'll lose his base. Let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. Right now, the trade war is a trade war. We're talking about putting duties on certain products, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But here's the other kicker that nobody's talking about. I don't hear much people talking about right now. And I think they're not talking about it because they're scared to even bring it up and have people think about it. China owns a whole lot of the American debt. America is a debtor country. America owes a lot of money to a whole lot of foreign countries. Now think about it. Right now it's only about products, buying products here and there and putting duties on the products. Suppose China decides to say, you know what? I am going to start dumping bonds. Dumping American bonds. I'm going to stop think about what that immediately does to the American economy. We can no longer get bonds at a good rate. Therefore, at that point in time, all this deficit spending that occurs, especially from the tax cut scam that just got passed that added another $1.3 trillion, over $100 billion over 10 years. Over $100 billion a year, which means we have to go collecting bonds to pay those bills based on the current construct of our economy. Let's just say China used the word, I am not going to buy U.S. bonds anymore. They just have to utter those words. You want to see a market crash? Do you want to see a market crash? Ask China not to do it, just to say it. Just to say, we will no longer purchase American bonds. The stock market crash that you're seeing right now would look like peanuts. Because what it means is as follows, my friends. It means to get money, the United States immediately has to pay very, very, very high interest rates. And not only very high interest, and those very high interest rates, guess who pays them? When we say America pays them, it means you do. And what it means is your Social Security, your Medicare, and every other social service, every other military service is now fair game. Because at that point, based on how the economy works today, remember, we're a capitalist economy, all they have to say is, we're not buying your bonds. Yes, it'll hurt the current bonds that they do have, but they aren't buying your bonds. They have us more, my friends, than you may even think they do. And it's not that China is more powerful than America. It's that America has put itself at financial risk because it wants to benefit the plutocracy and have them not pay their fair share. And in not paying their fair share and not being able to ask the Americans who don't have it to pay up what they've given to the rich people, they've said, China, could you loan me some money? Of course, they've also told the rich people, hey, we give you this money and you loan it back to us. And we'll pay you interest. Well, not we'll pay you interest. The American people will transfer their money back to you rich people. I wish Americans understood how all this stuff worked. They would never, ever again elect folks like these, man. They would never do it. But most people, the television isn't, the mainstream media is not telling you this. You don't know the condition, the economical device that could be used against us. The thing about it is China is playing its cards close because they know once they let that out of the bag, the instability across the world, because the American economy, the American debt at that point in time really then matters. And We don't have to borrow money. We don't have to sell bonds. What we can do, however, is just print money. You know, because you're not loaning money, they can print money. But immediately thereafter, because we import so much, if we print money based on the current economics model that's followed throughout the world, this capitalist model, if we print more money, the value of the dollar falls, and your Audis and your Mercedes-Benz and all those little cheap chinklets that Walmart sells, all of that, those prices go sky high. Which means now, even the little man that loved their Walmart, instead of going to mom and pop store, all of it suffers. Look, folks, this is some serious stuff that is about to happen. Trump is doing this because he so-called made a promise about, sticking it to China, and he wants to make sure to hold on to his base. But his base don't know this. You can put this in his base. You can put this section of, or in fact, I should cut out some of this part in the video. You could put some of this into his base's scroll or his base's wall. Why? Because they don't understand that with this gung-ho, raw, we're going to give it to China. We're going to stick it to them. We're going to put the import duties on. What they don't understand is the reality is that the ones that are going to suffer, it's not the rich Americans. It's not Trump. It's them. It's them. The Trump voter. The Trump supporter. Those are the people that will be paying the price. All right, let me go ahead and I hope I made that clear enough. Let me go ahead and see what else I have. And folks, some of you, it would be a nice thing for you to call instead of just leaving the messages on the Facebook page. Telephone number 646-716-5812. Again, that number is 646-716-5812. Okay, let's see what else we have here. Milton Gibson, we basically just didn't hear the blog of the week up until you mentioned Egypt's president. Okay, then the blog of the week, then I probably, let's see. Oh, that I think that message is fairly old. Let's see what else. We can't hear you. Let's see. Okay, I can't take any more of this. Going to see you next. So I did lose some viewers for that big mistake. Okay, I got that. Okay, let's see. Better Your Voice. Weekly blog post is on an endless loop. I fixed that now. Let's see. Mike C said, Michael, the problem is that all of those issues are near the bottom of importance for the majority of voters. I'm not sure what you mean is at the bottom for the majority of voters, Mr. Cisak. But what I just what I just told you there, what I just told you about what occurs whenever China decides to say we're not buying your bonds, that immediately affects every American voter. Every single American voter. If China ever utter those words, that immediately occurs. All right, let's see what else we have here. Government in a human institution designed to protect the society. What fool wants to, let's see, I got to expand that one. What fool wants to live, let's see. What fool wants to live where there is no unified force would protect us from the chaos of anarchy? The philosophy of Ayn Rand destroys Texas. Libertarianism destroys civilization. It destroys Texas. The philosophy of the Tea Party destroys Texas. Wake up, Texans. They are destroying Texas. They are killing us while we sleep. No, they're killing us while we sleep and while we're awake. Both of them. Dr. Fred Infortunio for the common good of all Texas. Look, thank you very much, my friend. All right, let's see what else. Michael Rudin says, progressives are still trying to win on the issues that matter despite this, getting big money corruption out of politics, forestalls, accelerating global warming, alleviating wealth inequality, remedying systemic racism, passing single payer, where's that? Sensible gun control, fully funded necessary. Yes, you're absolutely right about that, and that is in the intercept. CSEC says, Nisha, you have had everyone you know can start by working at the very first level of the election process, starting at the local county party, find out who the leader is, what part of the party there. These folks are the ones who help control who wins the party primary. Here's the secret. The number of people at that level is often very small, and you and your friends can make a huge difference. Nisha knows that. She's an activist out here. Let's see. Instability caused by also trade in China. Yes, there's going to be some instability there. Hello, all would like to network new. Okay, we got that one already as well. So, yes, folks, telephone number 646-715, or rather, 646-716-5812. That number is 646-716-5812. Before I continue with the program, I want to remind my dear friends that this is a progressive show, and these progressive shows need your assistance. And your assistance involve becoming a subscriber. So what we'd like to ask of you is that if you like what you're hearing, if you think this is important, if you realize that what we're saying are things that people need to hear, go ahead and please subscribe to our show at patreon.com/politics done right. That is patreon.com/politics done right. It is very, very simple, and not only that, it is a little bit go a very far way. I always try to remind folks that myself, I support a whole lot of the progressive rags out there, meaning Daily Kos, Op-Ed News, and quite a few others, because we know that they're trying to silence the voices right now. If you go to Common Dreams right now, commondreams.org, and you take a look at Common Dreams right now, what you find immediately is the first thing you have on the screen is, please, folks, support us, subscribe to us. That is what Common Dreams is saying as well, because it's not that they're trying to silence us. It's not that they're really trying to silence the voices. What they're really doing is maximizing their income, and it doesn't come from progressive radio or anything like that. It comes from, look, if progressive radio and progressive video and all of that is doing, is on, we want to make our advertising, and guess what? The big boys are willing to spend quite a bit more. So, folks, please consider giving us, first of all, consider subscribing to the show. But secondly, give us a call at 646-716-5812. Again, that number is 646-716-5812. And as I go ahead and refresh my page to see if we have any other questions before I try to expand on this subject a little bit more. As you guys know, as I told you, I can go on and on and on, but I'd rather not have monologues. I'd rather have more people engaging. I'd rather have people asking questions. I'd rather have people saying, this is something that we need to know, we need to do. So bear with me as I go through the scroll to see if there is anything here that I have yet to cover on these issues. Let's see. Michael Rudin said, my one and only purity test for political candidates, do you accept corporate bribery? I don't know what you mean by do you accept corporate bribery. Are you asking, the question is the question that you're asking, do you accept corporate money, or do you really mean to ask if you accept corporate bribery? Because I don't think any politician is going to answer that in the affirmative. I don't think any politician is going to say, oh yeah, I take bribe. Okay, let's see here. Yeah, let me see if during the process of the blog of the week, what new stuff folks have to say. But remember, folks, this is still a call-in show, 646-716-5812. Yes, I'll read your comments on air from the Facebook page. But man, I would love to have some of you just give a call and say yay, nay, or this is what you believe. Anyhow, let's see. The question you should be at. This is from Daniel Ledo, one of my favorite conservatives. We have quite a few conservative listeners as well, folks. Don't let anybody fool you. You have some good conservatives out there that's willing to come into the den. And so, Ledo, thank you for being in the den. And CSEC, thank you for being in the den. But anyhow, this is what Ledo has to say. Ledo says, the question you should be asking is, can the Democrat Party, and Ledo, I know it's difficult for you to say, it is the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party. That is the name. That is the name that is written on all the institutions. Do not try to malign it by calling it the Democrat Party. It doesn't do anything, really. It does more for you than it does for anybody else. So can the Democratic Party survive supporting repealing the 2A gender confusion, killing babies, supporting illegal immigration? You have a tendency to believe that the majority of the country thinks like you do, thinks that immigrants are a clear and present danger to the country. You tend to believe that you think most Americans believe that somehow taking a woman's right away from the full control of her body is something most Americans want. Guess what? Even Republican women want control over their own bodies. Conservative women want control over their own bodies. If that weren't the case, the law would have been changed a long time ago. Do you know that, Senor Ledo? The law would have been changed a long time ago if that were the case. Milton Toledo is with his rubber stamp. Okay, so that is a reality, Ledo. The reality is, I know where you're coming from, and I know what you're trying to put in here. But the reality is, look, if most women really wanted that law changed by now, the law would have been changed, and they would not have maintained control of their bodies, and that's a fact. And as far as immigration is concerned, this country could not live without its immigrants. It could not. And if you have any doubt, go to the farmers out there who voted for Trump, who are now complaining that they can't get people to work for them. Ledo now says, I'm not the one always saying the majority of Americans support my agenda. That is your department. You're right about that, my friend. It is my department because it is the truth. Most of the American people support what I support. They don't like to be tagged as I tag myself, which is a left-wing liberal. But if you ask Americans what they want, it turns out that they're far more left than one would believe. So I mean, I'm not. If once we remove the labels and people are free to say what they want, it turns out that they are in fact generally pretty darn liberal. So I mean, you can say anything you want against that, but that is the truth. Okay, what about illegal? Don't you understand? What about illegal? Don't I understand? First of all, I don't accept these people as calling them illegal aliens. Okay, and let me give you a qualified answer why. And this is for all those people who just think these people that are coming into this country, however they are able to get into this country, are such evil beings. I don't believe that at all. Not in the least. My thing is, I believe in the same kind of policy we have for Cubans. That is the once you touch land, you're here, and you can't be deported. You know, I believe that the truth that should be the truth for all people that get to this country, and I think we owe that to anybody who gets to this country, given our history of how we got here. So I mean, if we don't want the natives to come and say, now that you have stolen our lands, we want you to go home after all these years, then there's no way in God's hell that I am going to tell somebody else who did the same thing that they're illegal and tell our forefathers and don't call our forefathers illegal. If you want to call those people who put their foot in here and try to stay illegal, then you must call the founding fathers illegal as well. And I don't think you want to do that. So if you don't want to call the founding fathers illegal, if you don't want to call the pilgrims illegal, don't call those people who are trying like hell to get over here illegal at all. And I'd like for the people that are listening here, when conservatives get all self-righteous about illegal, just follow the rules and follow the Constitution, remind them that if they're up for the natives going back and saying get off our land, then nobody's illegal. Don't allow that argument to metastasize. Do not allow that argument. Like I said, we need to have control of our borders just for a mechanics point of view, just from a control point of view, because you have to mitigate laissez-faire, of course. But by the same token, if somebody made a hell of an effort to come over here and they got in past all our controls, by God, they deserve to be here. That's how I see it. I see it. If somebody found a way to get here and our controls weren't good enough to stop them, in other words, what I'm trying to say is every person that is here right now that's not a criminal should be legalized. Period. Period. Should be given their papers, should be made documented. And you can go ahead and try to strengthen your borders. But anybody else who gets back in, again, let's give them the same treatment we give the Cubans. That is, if you got over here, you got over here. Would you call yourself an activist journalist? You bet your life I call myself an activist journalist. Absolutely so. What about illegal? Did you? Okay, well, I explained that one already. So, folks, that is my tennis. We are at the end of the show. Thank you so kindly for having listened to the show. Please do remember this is a call-in show, 646-716-5812. The next time you come in, sorry for the... again, like I said, I run all the boards and everything myself, so sometimes I make a mistake. And today I made a mistake when we went ahead and had the blog of the week on a roll, but we reread the blog thereafter. Please remember this is a progressive show that needs your support, so please go to Patreon, patreon.com/politics done right. We will continue to tell the truth. We will continue to tell you information that isn't necessarily placed to you, given to you, on the on mainstream media. One of the things that I think is so important, one of the things that I just, in fact, when I just said about aliens, I think Americans would take a much softer stance on migrants, on immigrants that come over to this country, and have a more humane stance if we were to use not only empathy but use the reality of the formation of America in the discussion. And then we'll have more feelings towards all those other people that came to the promised land, because the founding fathers came to the promised land. Others came to the promised land, and they stayed. Some of them effected much evil. Some of them effected much killing on others in the process of taking the land. Those immigrants that are coming over here, documented or undocumented, are not saying I'm going to kill to stay. They're not saying I'm going to assassinate to stay. They're not saying I'm going to take to stay. They don't say that. They say, just give me a job. I want to stay. But a lot of the folks who came before said, I command this land. You leave this land that you've been on for all these years. Remember, folks, something called the tears, the Trail of Tears. Let's be realistic, folks. Let's be realistic. Let's remember our history. Our history dictates that anybody who gets here through our security has the right to stay here. Please consider supporting the show that's going to tell you the truth, unabashed truth. Whether and you don't have to agree with it, but know that even your point of view has a place here. You want to call in, your point of view will be aired as well. That's what we want. Communication, whether we agree or not, but we live together. Consider giving at patreon.com, patreon.com/politics done right. Subscribe to the show. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. Thank you so kindly for having given me your time.
Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is the progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. Remember, you can also send me a tweet to EGBERTOWILLIES. That is, at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is politics done right.
1, 2, 3, 4.